Magic is found in every room, where people connect over a shared purpose. In this weekly podcast, Luke, Hannah and Chris explore the role of purpose, courage, mindset and culture in every leader's quest for transformational performance.
Hello and welcome to Magic in the Room. I am Hannah Bratterud.
And I'm Luke Freeman.
And I'm Chris Province. Good to see you guys.
Good to be here.
Today we're going to continue our conversation in this What Should I Do Now series. I mean, it's the common question. A lot of leaders saying, okay, what can I expect from our team? What's the next step? There's a lot of stuff flying at us. You know, I know the condition of the team today. Where can we go? And today I think it's just really about movement. How do we generate, create, and recognize quick wins, right? And so let's just start with the obvious question. When we say quick win, what does that mean?
I think about, since I spend a lot of my time with sales teams, I think about the low-hanging fruit, right? You're coming into a new market, you're coming into a new role in sales, looking at, okay, what are the things I can pick off really quickly to create some forward momentum? And what does that do? And so if I'm a sales leader and I have a new salesperson on the team, what are some opportunities I can present that will help them get a quick win to pick off some of the low-hanging fruit? Because what that does is create positive momentum. It creates a self-reinforcing, when you feel like you're winning, you want to win more. And so I think that's kind of to the first question of, what is a quick win and why does it matter? It's a inherently rewarding experience that creates positive momentum.
I think a quick win is proof of self-efficacy.
I like it.
Yeah, I think a quick win, it proves that we can do something. It proves that we are capable and we have the power to change our place in this world. So for a leader, for a team, the whole reason we're doing this What Should I Do Now series is they're like, my team's redlined. Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to do except just exist every day and put out the fires, to just keep us existing. And that's hard. No one wants to just show up and my whole goal is survive the day. My whole goal is survive the quarter. That's not fun after a while. We can do it for a while. So what should I do now? Quick wins is giving proof that we have power in this world to do something, not just to have things done to us.
Right. And quick wins, I think, is that idea of there are things that are within direct control. Right. Here's something that I can do something about today.
Yep.
Right. And it's not necessarily to say think small, but understanding that to accomplish anything big, we think big and do small.
Yep.
Because those details is everything. And if you try to transform a team or move a team from where they are to where you want them to be in one move, we will fail.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for action creates motivation, right? So when we take action, we get that sense of, yes, something happened, we're moving forward. And there's inherent motivation in that. When you see movement, you want to continue to move.
Yeah, and it's something about, like the way you speak to it. It's when we find a win, we inform the grit that says your system is working. So keep the system in place, amplify movement within the system. As you create more heat, you create more wins. But I think the leader's challenge in all of this, and I'm interested in your guys' take, when we think about hope, which I think we can all be in the business of right now.
Yeah.
Seeing the state of some of our teams.
The market is asking for hope.
Right? Yes.
So let's give it to it.
Yeah.
You know?
So how does the idea of recognizing and achieving quick wins, how does that facilitate hope?
So if we think about the components of hope, right? What is hope? And we have a whole episode on hope if you want to dive deeper into that with Dr. Chan Hellman. But hope is the belief that the future can be better than today and that I have the power to make it so. You talked about self-efficacy and agency, right? That's personal power, recognizing that I have the ability to make it so. And hope includes tangible goals, right, that are self-rewarding, and pathways or strategies to meet those goals. And, you know, so I think that's the difference between hope and wishful thinking. With hope, there's a plan, there's pathways, there's, you know, recognizing that there's a way to get there and there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's the difference between hope and you know, wishful thinking. You see that there's light even if I'm not there right now.
Yeah, and basically the quick wins are the keystone achievements along this pathway between where I am and where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And we, as leaders, we can schedule whether those are 5 feet away, 2 feet away, 6 inches away. Like, we get to decide what those keystone moments are along that path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what does wishful thinking sound like? Like, over the last 2 years, I've heard a lot of wishful thinking, and I'm curious from you all, like, where do you see leaders accidentally, or maybe because they don't have a better tool, only providing wishful thinking instead of hope?
Well, people will say, well, I hope people come back to work after this is all over. Mm-hmm. That's not hope at all. Mm-hmm. That's a wish.
Yeah.
I wish for people to come back to work after the social programs are over, or after the pandemic recedes, or after this or after that. It's effectively just stepping back, looking and staring at the problem and hoping. They say, I hope for a different outcome, but what they're really doing is wishing, because they're not in the business of building pathways.
Yeah, waiting for unemployment payments to age out is not action. Right. It's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wish.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that behaviors would return back to the way they were in 2019.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I wish things would be like they used to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, how many times have we heard people say, man, when everything gets back to I'm really looking forward to when everything gets back to normal. Yeah. That sounds like a wish to me.
Mm-hmm.
What is normal exactly?
Right? That's always my question.
Right. I have no idea.
What? I mean, I hear leaders saying, man, I think in the next couple months, we're going to see a return to normalcy. We hear politicians say, oh, over the summer, we're going to see a return to normalcy. That sounds like wish to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for sure.
Sure, there's some science and trending on pandemic, whatever else. But if you're not taking action to ensure it or to define, when I say normalcy, here's what I mean is that we won't have to wear masks when we're in a restaurant, or whatever, Okay, well, what are we going to do? If we're going to have hope of that, we have to do something to get ourselves there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that applies inside our business as well. Well, I think when we get back to normal, our sales are going to go back to normal. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, let's just wait.
Yeah.
So we're twiddling our thumbs. We're waiting. The problem is we're not twiddling our thumbs. Everyone's working their guts out in the meantime on a wish.
Right.
And the wish is wearing thin.
Yeah. And a wish is not a bad thing, right? So if we think about the components of hope, desirable goals is where it starts. So that means there's something I want. Mm-hmm. There has to be something I'm wishing for, but it doesn't stop there, right? If all we focus on is the wish, oh man, I wish it was like this, right? Okay, that's okay. Let's identify that as a desirable goal, and then identify the pathways, and then make sure that there's a sense of agency, personal power, like this sense that, okay, I actually have the ability to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's like key takeaway. If I want to translate wish into hope, I have to take the action to develop the pathway and identify those wins along it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Right? And wins can look 100 different ways. It might be, a retention gain. It might be retention is stable. It might be retention only dropped by 5%, right? Like every organization, every market has a different story, and there's a lot of factors in that. But there's 100 things to generate wins about. Wins are an organized warehouse. Wins can be refurbing some equipment. Wins can be new equipment. Wins can be new processes. Wins can be literally anything as long as we define them. And when we speak to, and you guys challenge me on this, but I feel like to develop and maintain organizational health, leaders should have some type of command over project management principles.
Yes. Over getting things done and changing processes, improving processes. I mean, it's a skill that you have to have. If Ted Lasso got his poster and wrote "Believe" on it and stuck it up above the door, and then everyone kind of showed up and hung out and drank coffee and then hit the "Believe," and there was no coaching and there was no practices and there was no crucibles that players were breaking through, there would not be a show. Right? The show is about we believe, and look, we're all working hard in a really authentic way to realize the thing that we believe, to live into it. The story is the activity on the way, and everyone buying in enough to do that activity and invest. And the more they buy in and the more they invest, the closer they get as a team to realizing their belief. Like that's the story. And so when we talk about creating quick wins, we're saying like, don't just put the poster up and expect everyone to be happy because there's a poster that says "Believe." We're saying like, no, coach every day, work on the technicals every day, dig in every day. And like you said, Chris, that might mean we're going to clean up this closet today because it gets us closer to who we want to be. Because messy closet, messy organization.
Yeah.
And so we're going to start cleaning ourselves up because look where we're going. We're going to be world class. So today we're going to clean out the closet. That's a quick win.
Yeah. And that's a great example of like, how can we be world class if we don't clean out the closet? So people will say, well, cleaning out that closet isn't going to make you a world class organization. Well, how are we going to ever be world class if our closet isn't organized?
And then when that closet does get cleaned up, how does that feel? So, we'll talk a little bit about the importance of celebration and why celebrating and recognizing progress is so important. And part of that is it's what seals behavior in our minds, because and BJ Fogg, who wrote the book Tiny Habits, talks about, he calls it shine. It's that feeling you get after an accomplishment, however small or large, that sense of positive relief or self-efficacy or mastery, right? That positive feeling of checking something off or getting the closet cleaned up. When you focus on that, it's what actually helps to program that behavior in your brain. And that's why celebrating the wins is as important as having the wins. Pausing to actually soak up that feeling, like intentionally creating that sense of shine of like, yeah, we did this. Okay, I feel better now. Now we can take another step and make another win.
Yeah. Is that team ready to win? Like, can you organize the entire organization if you can't organize the closet? So building muscle and continually building capacity and ability, today I can lift 20 pounds, tomorrow 25, the week after 35, so on and so forth. I mean, that applies to in an organizational context. But how does this ultimately, how does winning or getting these wins relate to flow?
Yeah, so as a review, flow state is like when we're at our optimal performance. So flow is when the challenge that we're facing is the right difficulty level that it pulls out the best within us, the highest skill level that we have. So we talk about it with athletes a lot, right? They say, "Oh, I couldn't miss that game. They were in a flow state for whatever
in the
reason."
zone.
In the zone, right? And we all find flow state in different places, right? Sometimes gardening, sometimes working on a spreadsheet, sometimes whatever. So the question, how does creating quick wins relate to flow? We have to manage flow with our teams. And what I mean by that is we control the challenge level. We don't control their skill level necessarily, but we facilitate the growth of their skill by controlling the level of challenge that they face. And so it's our job as leaders, if we want the team to perform at a level beyond face value, right? If I took all these people and their resumes, I'd have some assumptions about what they could get done. But I think most transformational leaders, they want more than that. They want something exceptional to come out of that team. So to get there, yeah, you have to be the master of the challenge. And how do I sequence the challenges that this team faces to move to a place where we are in flow, we are firing on all cylinders, we are in the zone as a team. So the reality that we know right now is that the challenge that a ton of teams are facing is already calling out the best in them, or has already gone higher than what they have, the skill level they have. So they might be overwhelmed. And so when we ask people to do more, it's really difficult. And that's why we're talking about quick wins, because we can't add a huge project on. We can't say, all right, we decided that we've got these 2 products that we've created and people are buying them. We're going to create a whole third product and we're going to sell it to a different market. Teams that are already overwhelmed, already over challenged so that they're not in flow state, that's going to just like totally overload the channel. They're going to shut down, way too much anxiety, can't perform. So when we talk about quick wins, we're basically saying, what's the level of challenge your team is just facing because of the environment that we're in right now? Okay, keep that in mind and choose the quick wins that are appropriate to continue to level up their skill and keep them in that flow state.
Well, and it's evidence. So when we identify and achieve quick wins, it's evidence that current state is unlocked, right? So we're looking at wins, identifying and celebrating wins as the unlock from where we are to where we want to be.
Yeah.
It's evidence that we're moving, to your point about movement, Hannah. It's evidence that we are achieving, and that if we keep doing these things, we will arrive ultimately at where we want to be. We talk about purpose and commitments, and at the end of the day, it's about creating a sense of well-being, a richness within our existence, but also, like, for organizations and teams, it's about productivity.
Yeah.
It's about creating systems that perform really well, full of people that perform really well. And this idea about being productive, I think we have to, when we accept the role of change agent or of leader, we have an obligation to become a student of that role. And we talk about role exploration and role commitment, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm exploring a role, I only have to kind of know about it.
Mm-hmm.
I dab my toe in the water, so to speak. But if I commit to a role of leader and change agent and someone that rises to the challenge, then I'm also committing to understand the technicals of how I perform within that.
Yeah.
And there is certain academic rigor that goes about learning productivity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so The kind of game-breaking book for me was a book called The Goal by Eli Goldratt. And it's one that when I was operating, our entire executive team would read that book, because it talks about this idea of sequencing challenges for the people around us and for projects. When we talk about a leader's role in like creating these wins, if the leader doesn't apply appropriate pressure to the team, then there's no challenge to achieve, therefore there's no flow, and productivity is, some exist, but it's not very good, right? Low productivity. So the leader has to create this environment where heat is required to be generated by the team to achieve the win based on the challenge identified. So that particular book talks about how we break down work. It talks about how to sequence challenges, concepts of critical path, concepts of workflow engineering, and where systems become constrained. And so I want to share that and say, like, if you're a leader and you've committed to being a leader and you're responsible for meeting leadership challenges, therefore kind of altering the structure or methods of teams, that's one of many really excellent kind of materials or resources that's out there. And it's fun to talk through. It's fun to go through together. It's heady, but for someone that doesn't have like a formal project management background, that will give you the tools you need or the concepts that you need to go and apply within your organization. So I just want to give a shout out to that, and we'll put that in the show notes as well. So we've got this idea of tiny habits. We've got some resource from Eli Goldratt out there with The Goal, things that are in our backgrounds that we leverage day to day. But let's think about what are the principles for really sequencing or identifying these challenges, how to know when it's a win. When you're that leader, what are you doing? What are the principles you're operating on to say this is a win?
Yeah, so I want to provide opportunities that lead towards mastery. So that's a principle, is that a quick win should help someone master something. And we should be able to say explicitly how someone's mastering a skill, overcoming, with the project. And so I'm going to go back to cleaning out the closet. I think the narrative you shared around that, could we ever be world class and have a dirty closet? I think you could say that, right? And say, listen, everyone, we all are learning something today. We're mastering what it means to be world class, including me as the leader, because my standard has been dirty closet up until today. I haven't changed it, right? Today, I'm choosing as a leader to have a different standard, and we're all going to choose that we're going to take a step towards world class. That's an easy way to say we're mastering world classness, right? We're on a path to get better at that. We're on a path to understand what it means and start to execute that way. So for me, mastery is a principle.
Yeah, and I want to jump in there, Hannah, because mastery comes from role commitment. When I'm exploring a role, there's no expectation of mastery. The idea of being world class, I can explore and have a disorganized or dirty closet. Once I commit to being world class, there is a different expectation, and I have to submit to the discipline of being world class. Then I'm providing evidence, and it shows up as mastery.
Yeah.
So when we move from role exploration to role commitment, and really move from these kind of high level, anyone can digest sort of ideas about this role, to then deep knowledge about what it is I'm trying to accomplish, we see evidence, we see wins, and they absolutely show up as mastery because I am obligated to this discipline, this idea.
Yeah, and recognizing that mastery doesn't happen overnight, right? So yes, we clean the closet and we take that first step. We're on a path. It doesn't mean that we've achieved mastery yet. And maybe we will never achieve full mastery, depends on what it is, right? But it starts with a commitment, right? A commitment to an identity. We are the type of organization that achieve mastery, that are masters of our domain. Mm-hmm. And then the commitment to the behavior that will lead you there. And I'm talking about practice, right? In order to achieve mastery, we have to continue to practice. Mm-hmm. According to Malcolm Gladwell, it takes about 10,000 hours to achieve mastery in any one domain, right? 10,000 hours of practice. So the commitment to, first of all, the identity, and then the behavior and the lifestyle that allows you to achieve that level of mastery.
Right. It is like, that's what life is to me. It's this constant, like, what roles am I exploring? What roles am I committing to? And what am I getting really good at that provides evidence that I'm accomplishing something, right? And I think, so individually, teams, organizations, it's about, I have these standards and expectations for myself based on the roles that I fulfill. Here's the role that my team fulfills. And here's the role that my organization fulfills. So what are my standards? What must we get better at? And, ultimately, this whole concept is so rich because we play it all the way down to clean out the closet is the road to being world class. Like, that's the first step. And we think about like implementation intent, but also it's about systems, right? And you have to be a systems thinker or a learning organization to understand how the clean closet relates to being world class. If you only look at the practice of cleaning the closet as a transaction, you cannot be a world-class organization.
Mm-hmm. So I think it also requires a growth mindset. To be able to achieve mastery, you have to have a growth mindset because there has to be a recognition that we're not there yet, but we believe that we can get there, and we take the steps and we take the daily actions and we celebrate the wins and we get further and further along the road. And our commitment is to show up and do the things.
Yeah. And just a couple other practical principles for creating quick wins. I just want to call out that Hannah mentioned earlier this idea of celebration and recognition, and that is as important as doing the task. Mm-hmm. So we talk about, man, doesn't it look great in there? Mm-hmm. And look, we're a step closer to where we're going. We have some mastery over the world that we're in. We're not just at its whim and beck and call. But then another one that I think has been wound through everything that we've been saying is being able to create and share narratives, being able to be storytellers about what's happening to us right now. That doesn't mean we have to have all the answers. That doesn't mean we have to know what's going to happen in the future. But it does mean that we need to be able to share a compelling story that gives people power. Guys, I don't know what is going to happen public health-wise over the summer. I don't know what's going to happen with business demand. I don't know what our corporate offices are going to ask of us and push down towards us. What I do know is that we have proven ourselves over the last year to be people who can accept challenges and face them. And I also know that you wouldn't be here today if a part of you didn't believe that we are going somewhere better than we've been. So yesterday, I just want to call out, someone made that really clear. When Hannah cleaned out the closet, it gave me hope that tomorrow's going to be better than yesterday, because that closet has been a mess for 3 years. And look, we're better today than we were yesterday. So let's go. I'd love to hear ideas. So this is me transitioning into my next principle for creating quick wins, is like, do the crowdsourcing. If you're able to pull all of these other principles together, you're using mastery, creating pathways to mastery. You're recognizing people. You can create a narrative. You understand that all the little pieces connect together to create a system that's either moving in a direction or is affected by entropy and falling apart, right? You understand that we can be better. So you're adopting a growth mindset. If all of that is in play, like, okay, what does everyone else think? What should we do? We cleaned the closet yesterday. Let's brainstorm a little bit. You can have fun with it. You know that game, Hesitation?
No.
Not sure exactly how it's, Hannah doesn't know because it's an American pop culture thing.
No,
So
hold my hand.
isn't it like, no pauses or like there's a chant at the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know it either. Chris knows it. All right.
No.
Okay.
I just asked you to hold my hand.
And you hesitated.
And you hesitated.
That's not the game.
That's not the game.
No, the game is there's a
Wait,
chant,
hold my hand anyway.
hesitation. That's what I know. And then you go around the circle, and let's say our category was animals.
Yeah.
Or hesitation, dog, cat, frog,
Okay.
mouse. And so we would go around, each person say one. And as soon as we couldn't think of something and we paused and hesitated, then we're out. So let's say Hannah says dog, Chris says cat. I'm blank, right? Then I'm out. Then we would do the chant again, which I don't know. And then it's just Hannah and Chris back and forth. What all can we come up with? Like, play that game in your next staff meeting. And the topic is little things that we can do to make tomorrow better than today.
Yeah.
Clean the
wins.
closet.
Yeah.
Get one more client.
Wipe the door down.
Wipe the door down. Like, whatever
Take a
it
day off,
is.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's a practical little exercise. We'll talk offline about how that shows up in drinking games. Okay, so as we kind of wrap this conversation today, I'm going to issue a challenge to the both of you guys, and maybe I'll jump in at the end after I get some ideas. But I want to put you in the situation where you are the senior leader for an enterprise. And you can pick the enterprise or not. You can speak to it generally. It can be digital, it can be brick and mortar. But just name the wins that you want to create or identify for that team.
Okay.
Quick wins that inform grit.
Mm-hmm.
What can those look like? And let's get specific so we can go out and action these.
So I think about it internally and externally. How do we show up in the marketplace to our customers? How easy or difficult are we to do business with? And what is something small that we can tackle that makes the experience of doing business with us a little bit easier or less painful for our customers? And then apply that same lens internally with our team members, employees. What is the experience of being part of this team right now in this environment? What is something small that we can do to create a little bit better employee experience today?
Yeah. So
and how do we celebrate that?
What is that?
Well, it depends on your environment.
No,
right?
your business.
My business, in my specific business. So everybody's been kind of tired and kind of fatigued. And instead of saying you're going to have less work, I'm going to redirect the energy and the focus to a different kind of task. Okay, so emerging leader over here, you've been working hard and you're I'm getting concerned that you're burned out or getting close to it. I'm not going to take you off I'm not going to take my foot off the gas pedal, but somehow you're here and you're still willing to put your best effort into making this company better. What if I give you a different assignment, a stretch assignment, a new challenge that's fresh? I would consider that a small win, maybe a big one.
Okay. So I imagined I was the CEO of a manufacturing organization with 1,000 employees, just to give myself some granularity. What do I do? I would immediately require next level PPE, and like we're going to stay with our standards. Everyone's going to wear safety glasses, whatever it is in the environment, right? Typically there's always some slack there, especially if a new CEO is coming in, right? So that would be a quick win I would do immediately to communicate, no, we are going to be world class in what we do, and we care about you enough to require this. I would find someone to promote, a high performer who has been waiting too long. And if I had to make up a role for them or a project, I would do that to provide a quick win for that person and some pathways to other people so that they can have hope. And then I would have lunch with a different person every day for a month and listen to their story and what they think should be priority. So that's what I would do immediately. And maybe you don't classify that as a quick win, but I think it leads to quick wins, like actionable little things. Hey, we're out of soap. Great. That's a quick win that I can fix. And then if there's not a monthly all hands, I would start a monthly all hands and start the you said we did as quick as possible. So in our all hands modeling, you always do a survey at the end. What's one thing that you would do differently if you were on the leadership team here? And I would aggregate those answers monthly, and I would make sure as hell that I showed up every month with 2 or 3 things that we had done because of that feedback. So and engage employees in solving those problems and task a little project team to do that to create quick wins. So those are things that I would do. If I add all of that up, that probably costs me, I'm going to say if it's 1,000 employees, let's say it's a $200 million company, that probably costs me less than $30,000 to do all those things. So 30 to 50. So I'm going to call that a quick win. That's pretty cheap for my scale.
Yeah, you bet. I love how you touch on that. Like, that's pretty inexpensive for my scale. I'm going to take it from the approach of, I envision myself in a service environment, right, where there's people serving other people. Basically, the product would be consumed on site, or the experience would be delivered on site. What I'm doing is I'm just stewarding every square foot of physical plant. Because when I think about this, I'm just saying, what is that sense of arrival to the place where our team members and our customers come? Like, from the minute they pull into the parking lot, like, man, maybe I can reseal the lot. Maybe I can restripe the lot. Maybe I can put new landscaping up. Maybe I can get color changing LEDs. Maybe I can resurface the outside of the building. Maybe I can put paint on the outside of the building. Maybe I can take the lights from 400 watts to 1,000 watts. Okay, right. I'm still on the outside. Okay, haven't even walked in the door yet, but I've already created 6 or 8 activities for people to contribute to, for different employees to contribute to those efforts and make our place just a little bit better. And those things affect everyone. And now I can get to the inside. And can I refresh the carpet? Can I refresh the paint? What can I do with the interior lighting? What about the seating? What about the team member break room? What about, the tables guests sit at, or the seats that they sit in, or the types of beverages I provide while they're waiting for service? Or, what can I do? Like, maybe there's only one product that I want to make a change to the quality of. But just by focusing on physical things, I can create a lot of activity. And these activities, there's not a single person on the team not touched by this activity. Either you are directly contributing to it, or you are a consumer in that space. And we have a ton of reasons to celebrate. Everything's very visual. And I think that starts to set the stage. Now, once I refresh the physical plant, now we can have different expectations about how we steward it. This closet looks this way. The leadership challenge is that it always looks this way. This paint is fresh. The leadership challenge is to make sure there's never a chip in it. This landscaping is pristine. Now the leadership challenge is to make sure it's nurtured, it grows, and it always provides a warm sense of arrival to every customer and employee. The lighting makes us safe, right? So on and so forth. Like, we're serving very core needs when we address the physical plant in a really intentional way. So anyway, that's where I'm going. But thank you guys a lot for like participating in that exercise, because we're having lunch with people, we're initiating conversations, whether that's one-on-ones or all hands. We're giving leaders different stimulus, finding ways to redeploy our efforts, and finding someone to promote. Like putting people in positions of challenge. So I thought that was a great exercise. Thank you. And then I think hugely tactical things for our courageous leaders that are listening to go out and do. So as we walk away from here today, what are you guys leaving with?
Okay, I'm leaving with this. Here's how the chant goes. And it's commonly also called concentration, not hesitation. Mm-hmm. So this is a game of concentration, no repeats or hesitations. Category is animals. And then you do your thing. So I got to write the record that I can use Google. So there you go.
I think we should do that for our team meeting later today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we could do, what's the name of this drinking game? No, not that one. We're going to stick to hesitation.
I'm game for either.
Okay.
Concentration.
Yeah. Yeah. So my takeaway, we're doing this series, What Should I Do Now? Because it's hard right now. And we talked about hope today, that hope requires a pathway. So my takeaway is I hope that this episode is a pathway for people to create quick wins, because it takes it from just the idea of you should do something. What should I do now? Well, something to, okay, I think there's enough practical things in here that there's some pathways to, I really hope a week from now, 2 weeks from now, after this episode has been listened to, that there will be some folks with more hope and celebrating some wins than there were before it. So that's my takeaway and my hope.
Awesome.
Yeah. My takeaway is pause, even for the briefest moment, to acknowledge, recognize, and celebrate every win.
Yeah. And my takeaway is that because we get to identify what the wins are, we can have wins every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year. So when we say, like, let's go win the day, it's about opening our eyes to what is possible to achieve and moving ourselves, our teams, and our organizations forward, even if by a little bit, like every day. Because we think about, we overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a decade. It's because one person moving this far in one day doesn't matter a lot, but 100 people moving this far just an inch a day, when 100 people do that every day, it transforms organizations, and the level of performance achieved transcends generations and changes outcomes for communities and families alike. So thank you guys for engaging in this conversation about what should I do now, like how we create quick wins. And this is what we do. So if you are a leader looking to make quick wins for your organization, reach out. Just on the web, we're at purposeandperformancegroup.com. All of us as individuals are on LinkedIn. We have a company page on LinkedIn. All your social channels. We are not hard to find. Feel free to reach out, have a discussion around any of this. Thank you all so much for being here today, and thank everyone that's listening. And until next time, let's go win the day.
Magic in the Room is hosted by Chris Province, Hannah Bretteru, and Luke Freeman, and produced by Ben West. Theme music is by Evan Grimm. Title track Fake Love, available on Apple Music. and this podcast was recorded at Storycatcher Studio with video and audio editing and production support by Brad O'Hara and Alicia Crum, with inspiration, strategy and technical support by yours truly, Neil Hughes. Magic in the Room is a production of Purpose and Performance Group. You can find us at purposeandperformancegroup.com, and remember, previous episodes are available at magicintheroom.com.